suicide, I need to.
We have his information.
Yeah, fill this out.
Are you muted right now, Roger? Okay.
Not now.
Okay, thank you.
So we're still waiting on Alex Jensen, right? Let's see him.
Is he coming in?
Alex should be attending in person.
Okay.
Is that Laura Lewis I see in the boardroom?
Yep, she's here.
Okay.
And Nate.
Oh, okay.
Still happy to do these. Still happy to do these remotely, but we're starting to have a few more people showing up to our boardroom, so nice to get a little bit back to normal. But I think we'll continue, you know, unless the board wants to do it differently, and probably continue with the hybrid approach, which is what a lot of people are doing, especially where we're so geographically diverse. It's pretty hard for some people to get in here. But yeah, we're good. Waiting for Alex. He's coming in. He just isn't here yet, so.
We ran into the construction everywhere.
That traffic getting in here. Well, we'll just patiently wait. We can talk about the Jazz game, how that was kind of sad.
Lost game 3, that was heartbreaking.
Yeah. Hey, Alex, if you want to sit over here, I can put you on camera easier.
You get to sit and hear me out.
Yeah, we've got a good group on here, so we've got them here or on the big screen. And we're the only ones in the room that with audio, but the audio works through this whole system, so it'll just be on my camera here. If you want to do it that way, that's probably easiest. Okay. And I can pull up the agenda if you want, or I can just do faces, you got an agenda.
Yeah,
And we're streaming live, so we're in good shape. Start the meeting.
Well, very good. Good morning, everyone. Apologize for being a little bit late. This morning I should know. As often as I drive south on I-15, I should know better. Try to cut it close, but anyway, good to be with you. Got some important items on the agenda to discuss this morning. Again, appreciate your time. So the first item of business is to approve some minutes, several sets of minutes from the April 12th meeting, the April 15th meeting of 2021, the May 10th meeting of 21, May 13th meeting of 2021. Are there any additions or deletions to those minutes? If not, I'll entertain a motion for approval.
So moved. This is Jamie.
Thank you, Jamie. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Is that Brenda?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Brenda. Let's just we'll do it by voice. All in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, thank you. Next item on the agenda is the holding of a public hearing to allow comments regarding the fiscal year 2022 budget for UIA. Laurie, do you have to present regarding that?
I do.
Okay, do you want to share anything, or do you want to just be on screen?
I want to share my PowerPoint. Does that work?
Yep. Do you want to share? I'll allow that too. Okay, you should be able to share it now. Go to the Zoom. Sorry. And this?
Yep. Thank you. Okay, we good to go?
Yep.
And can everybody hear me? Okay.
You're in the room.
She looked at me.
This is a public hearing for the fiscal year 22 budget for Utah Infrastructure Agency. Starting with UIA operating revenues for fiscal year 22, the proposed fiscal year 22 budget is $28,798,900. The revenue estimates are based on assumed growth of 600 residential customers per month. That is fairly conservative. Our new customers per month have ranged from 500 to 1,000 in fiscal year 2021. Our estimated increase in commercial revenue is about 8% over projected fiscal year 2021, and the CAPI period is $3,068,600, is down a little bit from fiscal year 21 because the CAPI has ended for Layton, Morgan, and UIA Series 2019. The increase in the 22 budget over the 21 budget then is $3.8 million. And you can see that most of that is in revenue from operations. Operating expenses for UIA for fiscal year 22, the proposed operating expenditure budget is $25,178,900. We can talk about this a little bit later when we go through the management fee that UIA will be paying Utopia, also the service contract fees. But we have transferred all advertising costs from Utopia to UIA, not the marketing department in general, but specific advertising costs, with the knowledge that the advertising we are doing now is for new subscriptions in UIA. And am I controlling this, or are you, Roger?
You are.
Okay. We've added $140,000 system-wide to the advertising budget. And another component of trying to clean up the management fee payable from UIA is we've transferred bank service fees. Over the years, some of those have been charged to UIA. We wanted to get those all under Utopia and then allocate those as part of the fee that UIA pays Utopia. So really, the only expenditure that will be coming from UIA for operations will be the advertising. Capital costs, we budgeted $1 million for fiscal year 21. We've included that in network expansion, so you'll see that as we get to the capital budget. And then debt service is increasing from 14 million from 21. The projected is about 13.5. We're budgeting 17 million for fiscal year 22. That is the debt service due to the addition of Pleasant Grove, which closes later this week, Clearfield, and the UIA Series 2021. So the biggest increase in expenditures for 2022 is definitely debt service. We have a breakdown of the management fees, this $421,200 increase, and the network operating costs to Utopia, increasing by $895.5 on the next slide. The UIA management fee to Utopia, this is separate from the service contract that UIA and Utopia entered into many years ago. This is a reimbursement from UIA for those Utopia expenses that weren't accounted for or planned to be reimbursed from Utopia many years ago. We started doing this probably 2 years ago. The auditors were probably the main catalyst. They were concerned that Utopia was carrying a significant amount of expenses that are allocable to UIA. So we have done a fairly in-depth analysis of the Utopia expenditures to determine what really should be paid by UIA. The UIA fee to Utopia, the proposed UIA management fee to Utopia for 2022 is $2.7 million. It's an increase from the 21 budget of $421,200. There's a breakdown, a summary of the breakdown for administration. We believe that 80% of the Utopia expenditures are directly related to UIA. Technology, which is our new department, we've split those 50-50. Utopia still operates the backbone. Marketing and sales, 95% UIA, and so this category is the marketing and sales budget without the advertising, which is 100% UIA. And customer service, 25% Utopia, 75% UIA. So those fees total $2.7 million. The UIA service contract obligation to Utopia. This is an increase from the fiscal year 21 budget of $895,500. The proposed UIA fee to Utopia is $4,180,600. This isn't fixed. A lot of these are based on connections. We'll show you on the next slide. So if new connections and new addresses are higher or lower than anticipated for 2022, the actual service obligation fees paid will vary. This breaks down about $25.75 for finance, the network operating center, Blue Stakes locating, field services, and operations administration. A little higher for the warehouse, 90% UIA, since most of the inventory purchase is for construction in UIA, and then again, 2575 for network engineering. That breakdown is similar to the number of connections that Utopia receives revenue for and the number of connections UIA receives revenue for. And that number will probably continue to change, probably be closer to 20% Utopia, 80% UIA going forward as all of our new connections and addresses passed our UIA. It's about a 27% increase. It's related to growth in new addresses and new connections and a proposed fee modification. And the fee modification, we have 4 components of the service contract. The first is network operations. UIA active connections times $650 a month is the formula. It's the current fee. We anticipate 600 new connections per month, and our proposed fee is a little different than what I suggested in the tentative budget. But I believe if we increase that fee by 10% from $6.50 to $7.15, that is adequate to cover the cost of network operations in Utopia. The second fee is provisioning. This is based on new UIA connections. Right now, UIA pays Utopia $14.30 one time for each new connection. We anticipate 600 new connections per month, or 7,200 over the year. Again, I propose that fee increase by 10% from $14.30 to $15.75. Field maintenance. UIA addresses passed pay $1.20 per month to Utopia. We anticipate an addition of about 20,000 additional addresses for 2022. A 10% increase in this fee would move it from $1.20 to $1.30. The justification for increase in these fees is, first of all, we didn't adjust them last year, so the last time we increased these would have been for fiscal year 2020, and salaries have gone up over time. We have also added new FTEs over time, and we have some new FTEs in the Utopia budget this year. And then the shelter maintenance fee, UIA pays Utopia $400 annually for each UIA hut and cabinet. The budget for 2021 for the service contract obligation was $3.2 million. The projected is $3.4 million, and the proposed fiscal year 2022 budget is $4.2 million. UIA network expansion revenues. So this is, if you will, the capital budget for fiscal year 2022. We are proposing for the fiscal year 2022 budget interest of $380,000. That's lower than what we budgeted for 21, and actually a little bit less than what we were projecting for fiscal year 2021. This is due to the fact that we are spending our construction funds more rapidly. We don't have large balances sitting in the trust accounts earning interest. So we are anticipating about $380,000 interest revenue on those funds for fiscal year 22, and a contribution from restricted bond funds. So this represents bond proceeds, the balance that is left in those restricted funds at Zions Bank. They are a trustee. So we anticipate that we will draw the full $32.3 million remaining in those restricted funds in 2022. You'll notice that we haven't budgeted anything in fiscal year 2022 for proceeds from debt issuance. We do have some cities that we believe we will be forming partnerships with very quickly. We won't budget that revenue until the transaction is complete. Also, you'll notice for fiscal year 2021, $1.1 million revenue from CARES funds from various cities. This could also be classified as installation revenue, but it is unique to fiscal year 2021. Many cities used their CARES money to purchase installation of fiber to some of their parks and some of their city buildings. So hopefully we'll have some more of that from the federal funds that are going to be available for 2022, but without knowing what that is, we have left that revenue line open for fiscal year 2022.
Yeah, and just a quick comment on that. I think there's several other cities that may want to be doing that with their ARP funds. We've got some cities that have actually budgeted money. These are even non-Utopia or UIA cities that like to work with us on some of their middle mile projects, things like that. So there will probably be those opportunities, but until we have a contract in hand, we're just not budgeting for them. And if they do happen, then obviously that would be part of a budget revision later.
The $32.3 million remaining in restricted construction funds is bond proceeds for the Clearfield project. The remaining amount for the UIA Series 2021 and the Pleasant Grove bond, which will be closing later this week. UIA network expansion expenses for fiscal year 2022. We plan to spend everything that is remaining in our construction funds in fiscal year 2022. Some of the construction in Pleasant Grove may run over into 2023. It all depends on how quickly Aaron can get all that built.
Hurry up, Aaron.
Yes. And then reduction of fund balance. So fiscal year 2021 is the first year that UIA has had a deficit fund balance. That was related to depreciation. We've talked a little bit about changing the estimated lives on some of our assets. We are depreciating our conduit and fiber over 25 years. The life is closer to 40 years. So we intend to reduce to decelerate the rate of depreciation. Until we do that, we do have a requirement from Utah state law to budget for the reduction of the fund balance deficit. The total fund balance deficit for 2021 was $989,900. We have the option of budgeting for the entire deficit, which we have done in this 2022 budget, or budgeting for 5% of prior year revenues to start reducing that deficit. We believe that we can cover that deficit in fiscal year 2022, so we've budgeted to reduce that. In summary, UIA 22 budget, the increase in operating revenues, $3.8 million. Increase in total operating expenses, $3.7 million. So an increase of $104,000 over 2021. And revenues over expenditures in the amount of $3.6 million. In non-operating revenues, $32.7 million, and a decrease of $68 million, because we haven't budgeted additional cities that will be coming online in fiscal year 2022, and then build costs of $33.7 million. And then we have the net gain or loss from network expansion and capital, a loss of $989,900. You'll recognize that as the replacement of the fund balance deficit. Total revenues over expenses for fiscal year 2022, $2.6 million. There were some changes from the tentative budget that we presented in April. I wanted to quickly go over those. Operating revenues, the difference between final and tentative budget was $211,000. This is based on revised fiscal year 2021 projections, which actually increased the estimates that we have for fiscal year 2022 based on performance, and also the addition of the cap I for Pleasant Grove. Operating expenditures, the difference, we are spending $955,600 more. Most of this is due to debt service. Adding debt service for Pleasant Grove is about $500,000. The decreased service contract obligation, increased service contract obligation, $1.4 million. And this one is fairly new, capitalizing Utopia construction-related expenses and reimbursing from bond proceeds. We have treated the construction-related expenses in Utopia as operating expenses. We spent about $1.7 million in Utopia directly related to the Utopia build. The GFOA prefers that those costs be capitalized, and what this means for UIA is that some of the bond proceeds borrowed for capital will be used to reimburse UIA for those capital costs. They will be listed as some of the expenditures for the construction costs and reimbursed from the bond proceeds from the trustee. Now for expansion revenues, the difference is $5.5 million. The tentative budget did include new city partnerships. In the final budget, we have backed those out with the idea or the right thing to do, which is to budget those revenues as the bonds close and as those transactions finalize. And then network expansion expenses, the tentative budget was about $4.5 million higher, again related to the tentative budget, including new city partnerships and the related costs. And that's all I have. Can I answer any questions from anyone?
Let's stop your share. Screen share.
Yep.
Are there any questions from the board for Laurie regarding the proposed budget? Okay. I've got a couple, if I may. One of them is on the fund balance deficit.
Yeah.
Did we talk about that last budget cycle, about the need to change how we talk about that?
I think we
Or am I
probably,
misremembering?
I think we probably talked about it when the auditors presented the financials for fiscal year 2020. I'd have to look
So
back.
that would have been, so is there, what is the, other than just, it's one of many, many things that have to be done, is there a reason for the delay? Is, we know that's an issue, why don't we just wait and take care of it? And change that depreciation schedule so we don't keep showing this on our books from year to year.
I think we can do that. We couldn't go back and change that for fiscal year 2021. So the fund balance deficit existed because the depreciation, it's growing every year with the additional plant.
Yeah.
And we were on the 25-year schedule for fiscal year 2021. So the result of that was the first year of a fund balance deficit. We didn't change it in fiscal year 2021. If we would have, we could have avoided that deficit period. But we can change it going forward. And in the fiscal year 2022 budget, we haven't budgeted at all for depreciation. I'm trying to move toward a cash-based budget, which all of the cities are familiar with. And so depreciation hasn't been budgeted, and we don't anticipate, I don't know for sure, I don't know what the total depreciation expenditures are in fiscal year 2022, but I don't expect a deficit fund balance for fiscal 22.
Regardless of whether we change
We do have to
the
change it.
depreciation schedule, or
Yes.
if we change it.
If we change it, I don't anticipate
Okay.
there will be a deficit. I can't promise that, because I don't know what those numbers are.
That'd be a big swing though.
Yeah, it would be a
Change
big
that
swing.
depreciation.
But we can't change the life going back, so the depreciation calculated is what it is.
Yeah.
And so, changing that going forward will reduce the, possibility that they will still be a deficit fund balance. Cash-wise, we have a positive fund balance, so it's.
So do we attack that for the next cycle then?
Yeah,
Is that?
We're required to budget to reduce that fund balance deficit for 2021. And then for fiscal year 2022, it doesn't require board action to change the depreciation method. That can be an accounting change. And so, the swing for depreciation expense from 2021 to 2022 will be significant. We'll have much lower depreciation expense. Does that answer that question?
Yeah, it does, and I don't have it's not a large issue to me. I just think it's as well ran as the organization is financially, our finances are in order, that if we can avoid showing anything that could be misinterpreted intentionally or otherwise, and showing some area of Utopia is not doing well,
Right.
to the sum of that, I think that we ought to just take care of that and make sure there's no possibility somebody can try to
Right.
make hay out of something that's a non-issue.
Right, and I don't know what the intention of the state was when they required that. I don't know if it was to make it more visible or require cities and interlocals to be more transparent, but it's very specific. It says you will budget for the reduction of the fund balance deficit. And it was there, and if we can reduce that deficit and get back to the point where we have a positive fund balance after depreciation, then we won't have an item like that in our budget.
That's great.
Then we revise our budget in the future here to fix that, or, I mean, it kind of makes this year.
Yeah, this year we're stuck with it.
Yes.
Yeah, we're required to budget for the deficit and.
Well, as far as the depreciation cycle, though, like,
Yeah.
we change our methodology and apply that in a few months or something, revise our budget to account for that and fix this fiscal year budget to show it's positive versus having a deficit. Like, what do we think the timing is on that? Is that too difficult to do
I
during
think
mid-year?
the deficit that exists at the end of fiscal year 2021 exists.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
There's no way we can go back and change it.
Okay, that makes sense.
And we're required to budget to reduce that deficit.
Okay, so
So,
in the future, we'll be good.
we hope so, yes,
Just 2021, it's got a little bit of an asterisk on our budget.
yeah.
We can explain that easily, but, okay.
Yeah, I don't think it's that big of a deal. I think change the schedule, that's what's industry standard, is 40 years or whatever it is, rather than the 25, and that'll address it, I think, going forward. So that's great. And then the second question I had was on the marketing budget, that extra $140,000. Is that just a expansion of what we're currently doing, or are we
It's a little bit with
trying
the
some
growth.
new things, or?
And we are trying some new things, but it's just a growth, because we haven't really changed that budget in many years, and we've seen a dramatic increase in customers. So, I would say that we're trying something, but we're still being very targeted of how we're using the money for marketing, so.
Okay, well, that's good.
Some of the expenses are when we get a customer versus before we get that customer. So if we get more customers, it costs us
Yeah.
money. Like, we have that
Welcome
welcome
packet.
packet that customers receive. It's a good problem to have, that
Sure.
we need to make more welcome packets than we expected, but, and we think they're very effective, but it does
Cost
cause an increase
Yeah.
as we grow faster.
Yeah, my concerns were not about the fact it went up. I'm just curious if it prompted the question, are we doing something different or expanding?
We're always looking for something different, Alex. Status quo has never been my forte, so we're always looking for different avenues. Marketing is an evolving field, and how you get to customers is always changing, so we're always looking into that.
Yeah. Well, it's obviously working, so, thank you. Okay, any questions of the board? Okay, we need to go into a public hearing to allow public comment regarding this, so I'll entertain a motion to enter into a public hearing.
I'll make motion to go into a public hearing.
Okay, this motion from Jason, thank you. Jason Sant. Is there a second?
I'll second that. It's Nicole.
Okay, Nicole, thank you. I think we need to do a roll call to do this. Okay, I'll try to catch everybody. Kyle?
Aye.
From Midvale, thank you. Brenda?
Aye.
Thank you. Nicole?
Aye.
Grant?
Aye.
Jamie?
Aye.
Jason,
Do we have anybody? Pardon?
Jason Sant?
Jason, okay. Jason,
Aye.
you're not, okay, and then anybody else I'm missing?
Nope.
Okay, and Leighton is an aye. So very good. We're now in a public hearing to allow comments regarding the proposed budget. Are there any? Doesn't appear to be anybody here in the Utopia offices. Nope. That is outside. Have there been any comments given virtually? Krista, are you aware of any?
No, I have not received any.
Good.
Okay, it appears that there are no public comments on this issue. Okay, very good. Then we need to have motion, Josh, to close the public hearing, or? Okay, I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing on the proposed fiscal year 22 budget.
I'll move to close the public hearing.
Okay, thank you. Jason, is there a second?
Second, this is Brant.
Okay, thank you, Brant.
I'm okay with just a voice vote on that.
Okay, we'll do a voice vote on this. All in favor of closing the public hearing, say aye.
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 Are there any opposed? Okay, thank you. Next item is closely related to the public hearing, and that is the consideration of approval Resolution 2106, which is the resolution approving the budget that we just had the public hearing on. Are there any questions of Laurie, or staff on that proposed budget? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve Resolution 2106, approving the annual budget for fiscal year 21-22.
I would move to make a motion to approve Resolution 21-06, approving an annual budget for fiscal year commencing July 1st, 2021, and ending June 30th, 2022.
Okay, thank you, Jason. Is there a second?
Second, Kyle from Midvale.
Okay, thank you, Kyle. Okay, let's do a roll call vote on that one. Kyle, Midvale?
Aye.
Brenda?
Aye.
Nicole?
Aye.
Grant?
Aye.
Jamie?
Aye.
Jason?
Aye.
And Leighton is an aye. Appears to be unanimous of those that are attended. So, very good, thank you. The next item is consideration of a resolution, 21-07, which provides for the execution of a service contract between Syracuse City and UIA for the proposed build in their community. So, Roger, for the background there.
Yeah, so this is just like we've been doing with these other cities. So we've been working with Syracuse City for a little while on this. We've actually been providing Syracuse City with services for the city offices in some other locations within the city. Over time, obviously, the residents, others have brought a lot of attention to this. So the city decided to take a look at this. We had various meetings with them. I think, overall, there's been a lot of support for it. Ultimately, we put the proposal in front of them. They beat us up a little bit in a good way, just to make sure things were good. And then ultimately, they approved this with unanimous vote at the city council meeting. There was a little bit of, I'd say, an alternative proposal showed up from another provider that caused a little bit of a delay, and they said, hey, let's take a step back and look at this. They kind of allowed that other provider to come in and pitch them on their model and options. And we came back and gave them some tours of our facilities, had other meetings really to give them a kind of a second vetting of Utopia and UIA. Here, if I sit in the right place here, it's UIA, so we're having a UIA meeting, with the background logo there, so, but anyways, people are shaking their heads over here. So anyways, they had another meeting last Tuesday, I believe was when their meeting was, and they considered, whether they wanted to leave it, or if they wanted to reconsider, and they basically said, we vetted this thing, we're comfortable. It looks like we have, Paul Roberts with Syracuse City, on the meeting here. I don't know if you have any desire to share any comments. But anyways, things are good. We have support. They've approved the contract on their side. And from our perspective, it's ready for counter approval with UIA board. But I'd welcome any comments from Syracuse City, related to this.
Thanks, Roger. Yeah, Brody wanted me to just be here in case you had any questions for us. From our perspective, yeah, the council's on board 100% now. So we're happy to answer any questions that you have.
So Paul, what do you do for Syracuse City? Are you a council member?
I'm the city attorney.
Oh, very good. Okay.
So anyways, you have the agreement. It's really a copy of the same type of agreement we've done with first Morgan, then West Point, then Clearfield, now with Syracuse. It's a great model. It strikes, at kind of the right balance between member cities and new partner cities. UIA issues the debts. We build the network. There's a threshold and a guarantee of revenue from the city. That's a pretty low threshold for Syracuse, especially where we've already been able to build some of the routes. We believe we'll be able to get the revenues faster and more easily because we are, like I said, kind of already in the city with some school connections, the city itself. And the ground conditions are favorable there, which does help speed along the pace of construction. Unlike Layton, which you got a lot of rock, Orem has a lot of rock. A lot of our cities are not easy projects to build, and so there's just a lot of things favorable in Syracuse, including the demand for services, public support. We think we'll do very well there, and we're excited to do the project. So, anyways, any other questions out there? And from my perspective, we're good to go. It looks like a very favorable project.
Okay, I've got a couple of questions, simple ones. One is just to confirm that it is the same contract that we've used. It's not kind of, it is the same.
I think the only thing that we changed that I am aware of is they want a little bit different language around the coverage of the city to make sure that we're going to cover the whole city. It's always been our intention with these contracts to do that. We've given ourselves quite a bit of wiggle room in that in the past. I think we actually tightened that down a little bit to basically just say, we are going to cover every address within the city. So the language around that changed a little bit, but the intent has always really been the same. Here's one of the city council members had some concerns to make sure that we weren't going to come in and cherry pick and leave some parts of the city unserved. And so that was modified. But other than that, Josh, is there anything substantive?
That really was the only thing. And basically all we did with that was take kind of the idea of a force majeure clause, something out of the control of Utopia that would prevent us. That still would allow us kind of the room to work if we needed to in meeting our deadlines for completion of the entire city. But our commitment remains still everything else. So no change, from our obligation on that.
Okay.
And then usually with these projects, we get the question, I want to anticipate that, is this going to hold us up in any of our other projects? As far as all remaining areas of the UIA Utopia cities, those have kind of been done incrementally over time. We've tried to speed things up. At this point, every single remaining area is in some process of construction, whether that's in our engineering or actually out for construction in the field to be completed. They're all green-lit and moving. So at this point, there really isn't anything to get in the way of those. Every other project and every other thing we're doing is kind of coming in behind those. We're anticipating finishing up all those remaining UIA areas, hopefully within this fiscal year budget. The only reason that we wouldn't would really be because of a problem, like a permit or some obstacle. But as far as our capacity, you know, funding wise, obviously we funded it through the last UIA bond, the general one, whatever we want to describe those. And so everything is going to be getting wrapped up here over the next year as far as availability of services, and these new city partnerships are being done somewhat in parallel, but also mostly on the tail end of that.
So on the build, are you bringing, with the new builds, we've got some of these cities, which are all wonderful additions to UIA Utopia, but are we hiring additional contractors, or are the existing contractors we've had a relationship with in the past, just expanding numbers of crews to be able to accommodate this?
We have significantly increased the engineering. We used to do that through 1 or 2 engineering firms. I think we're up to 6 or 7, we're up to 8. That are working the engineering. That includes all the design work, permitting, and a lot of that. So we have a lot more going on in parallel to avoid that bottleneck. On the construction side, it's primarily going through one contractor who subs out to almost all of the entities that are out there and available. So that's ramped up and down over time, probably is generally ramped up. You know, we really what happens is they all work with each other, and so having multiples of those directly contracted doesn't really increase our capacity. They're able to increase their capacity with the other contractors. We have had some cost adjustments. The price of materials has gone up, not necessarily the labor as much, but it's still within the scope of what we've budgeted for this project, and so we're confident in our ability to build this and come in under budget, or at budget.
And the last one is, maybe you mentioned this and I missed it. What are you anticipating when construction will begin? Just a rough guess of when it'll be completed.
Begins immediately, but that's not so much construction in the streets as it is getting the fiber huts prepped and installed. That's one of our longer lead items. The completion of it, I think we'd see the first areas completed 8 to 10 months out. Is that? I'm going to just check with Aaron, make sure, you know, I'm not lying about this.
3 to 5 months for engineering permitting, and then 3 months after that.
For construction.
Sorry.
And so we'd expect the first customer to be coming on, you know, I'd say a little bit less than a year out, with the final customers being, or the final areas of the city being completed about 1.5 years out. The contract gives us 2 years, though.
Very good. Are there any questions of the board or from the board members? Okay, very good. Hearing none, go ahead and entertain a motion then to approve Resolution 2107 regarding the execution of a service contract between Syracuse City and UIA. Anybody want to make that motion?
This is Kyle with Midvale. I move to approve Resolution 21-07, execution of a service contract between Syracuse City and Utah Infrastructure Agency.
Okay, thank you, Kyle. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, that was
Jason.
Jason. Okay, thank you, Jason. Let's do a roll call vote on this. So Kyle?
Aye.
Brenda?
Aye.
Nicole?
Aye.
Brand?
Aye.
Jamie?
Aye.
Jason?
Aye.
Mayor Averson?
Aye.
And Leighton is an aye. Have I missed anybody?
Oh, you got everyone.
Okay, thank you. Next item, item 6, is again related to item 5. It's a resolution proposing to authorize the issuance and sale of not more than $23.5 million of telecom and franchise tax revenue bonds for this Syracuse City project. And we just note that we have our good friends and long-term partners, Brad, here with us, and Laura and her team with us. We appreciate them very, very much, and it's always good to have you with us. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask of Laura or Brad as well. But Roger, do you have any introductory comments or just jump into questions?
You know, we got a great team that helps, that does these transactions for us. Obviously, this is the project we just described in the last agenda item. Do you have anything you want to share? I mean, it's...
I'm happy to report on how Pleasant Grove is in the market, what the market's doing, whatever you like.
Yeah.
Take it more
Tell
time.
us how the market's doing. Why don't you come take a seat here? That way everybody can see it.
You're lots taller than me. My feet are swinging from the chair now. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to you this morning. Just by way of quick update, the Pleasant Grove transaction that will be closing on Wednesday, priced at the true interest cost was just a little bit above 3%. We amortize all of these over a total of 27 years and typically have 2 years of capitalized interest. That's what we're planning on for Syracuse as well. From a market perspective, the FOMC is meeting this week, and we are finally to the point where at least half of the board of directors are thinking to signal that there will be a rate increase in 2023. The other half think it's still going to be 2024. There's, the issue there is related to inflation, obviously. Interestingly, we were talking about labor, or not lumber earlier this morning before the meeting started, and there's an article out where people are finally choking on lumber prices, and lumber is finally coming down. I hope it holds, because I see housing prices, and it's mind-boggling. Nathan pulled up for me this morning the comparison of MMD, the Municipal Market Data Monitor that Thompson publishes, compared to the day we priced Pleasant Grove to today. And the long bonds are down about 10 basis points, which is, notwithstanding there's these inflationary fears out there, we have a lot of supply of money in the market. There's just more money than there is bonds. So it's a classic, supply-demand imbalance. And it's just keeping those yields very low. I would expect that Syracuse price is about the same, again, in the same neighborhood that Pleasant Grove did, maybe a little tighter. 272? Oh, what was I looking at? Nathan corrects me. Well, it was not 3, it was 272. Who knows what I pulled up? I was having computer issues, so I was frustrated. Who knows what I pulled up? So thank you, Nathan. The parameters for this particular resolution, you'll have your same pricing committee that you've had in the past. The bonds cannot exceed more than $23.5 million. Interest rate to allow for couponing cannot exceed 5.5%, and not more than 30 years are the parameters that the pricing committee has to work within. And with that, Brad, do you have anything you want to add to that relative to the resolution?
Thanks, Laura, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Happy Flag Day. To Brad Patterson from the law firm Gilmore Bell Bond Counsel to UIA. Laura correctly stated the parameters, $23.5 million. One other parameter that I wanted to throw in there: we can't sell these things at not less than 97% of their principal amount. And just note as well that there will be a public hearing that will be held with respect to these bonds. That public hearing is currently scheduled for July 12th. And so if you could put that on your calendars. We've been working with UIA staff as well as representatives from Syracuse in terms of finalizing these documents. We'll continue to work with those individuals until such time that we can get the bonds sold and then close on the bonds. So once again, it's another exciting project. It's great to see the expansion. Congratulations to everybody on the Pleasant Grove transaction. Congratulations to everybody on this transaction as well.
Thank you, Brad. And thank you, Laura. Nathan. Okay, members of the board, are there any questions that any of you have either for staff or for Laura or Nathan or Brad regarding this proposed resolution? Okay, very good. Hearing none, let's go ahead and I'll entertain a motion. regarding Resolution 2108, authorizing the sale of these bonds according to the parameters that have been described. And also remembering that includes a public hearing date on the issuance of July the 12th. Motion?
I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 21-08, authorizing the issuance and sale of not more than 23.5 million aggregate principal amount of telecommunications and franchise tax revenue bonds, or otherwise known as the Syracuse City Project Series 2021, and set a
Okay, thank you,
public
Jason.
hearing date of July 12th.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Jason. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, second from Brenda. Thank you, Brenda. Let's do a roll call on this. So we'll go Kyle,
Aye.
Brenda,
Aye.
Nicole,
Aye.
Brand,
Aye.
Jamie,
Aye.
Jason,
Aye.
Mayor Acherson,
Aye.
and Leighton is an aye. Thank you. It appears to be unanimous again. Thank you very much. Next item on the agenda is a financial update from Laurie, excuse me.
Okay, go ahead.
Are we good?
Yep.
Okay. I wanted to quickly review fiscal year 2021 budget to actual for UIA. The columns on this spreadsheet show the fiscal year 21 budget, the projection, since we are very close to the end of the fiscal year, for 2021 and the variance. On total operating revenues, most of the 1.4 million is due to operating revenues coming in stronger than we anticipated. Operating revenues are exceeding the budget by over 800,000. Contribution from CAP-I, the original budget was underestimated by about 600,000. No reason to be concerned about any of that. But the key to take away here is that operating revenue was above budget by $800,000. Total operating expenditures came in 1.2 below. Most of that is the capital costs have been accounted for in network expansion. It's, as you know, when we do year-end entries and prepare the audit, all of those are reclassified to fixed assets and don't show up in the final financial statements. But we have most of the $1.2 million difference between budget and projected would be based on the capital costs, and then the 4% difference in what we budgeted for debt service and what we anticipate the actual to be. We were slightly over in marketing and administrative. Again, some of this is due to the increase in the number of customers and the welcome packets we talked about that go out after those customers come online. We spent a little more than we had budgeted for. And then network operating costs paid to Utopia. Again, there we are about $117,000 higher than budgeted due to higher growth than anticipated. Total revenue over expenditures then from operations, about 2.6 million, and that's made up of operating revenues exceeding by 800,000, and then debt service under budget by 1.1 million, expenditures 700,000 under budget. Revenue expansion, the variance is 24 million in proceeds from debt issuance. This is mostly due to the closing of the Pleasant Grove bond later this week. So we did not amend the budget for that revenue. We don't necessarily need to do that. There's much more concern over the expenditures being over budget. Obviously, we're not going to be able to spend much of that Pleasant Grove money until fiscal year 2022. So the projected 21 revenue from debt issuance is 92 million. We budgeted 68 million. There's the Pleasant Grove issuance, we expect the proceeds to be about $20 million. So again, there is a slight difference in, about a $5 million difference in proceeds from debt issuance budgeted and projected. We did open the budget for the general UIA bond and the Clearfield UIA bond. And I believe that some of the issuance costs and the CAPI and debt service reserved were netted against those proceeds. Interest revenue overestimated for fiscal year 21. The money didn't sit in our construction funds. We spent it as soon as we could get it, and so interest revenue is lower than anticipated. We do have $1.1 million in CARES funds that weren't anticipated in the budget, so this is additional revenue over what was budgeted. And then contribution from unrestricted bond funds, a slight difference of about $1.4 million. Total non-operating revenues then, $23 million, which is generally associated with the Pleasant Grove transaction that is closing this week. Expenditures, network expansion and building purchase. We budgeted $56 million. We're spending $61 million, slightly more than we anticipated. Bond issuance costs, the variance is related to the Pleasant Grove transaction. Deposit to restricted funds, that $19 million that will be deposited to restricted funds is related to Pleasant Grove. So we are exceeding the expenditure budget for network expansion by about $23 million, pretty close to the non-operating revenues. We have then a net loss, if you will, from network expansion of $150,000. The result is total revenues over expenditures of about $2.5 million. And that's all I have on fiscal year 21, the UIA budget. I do have some graphs I'd like to share. Does anyone have any questions about the 2021 budget to actual?
Okay, you need to stop share and then share again. But just pick that up from your share. Pick that up there.
Thanks, Roger. Okay, this graph that all of you are familiar with shows the combined recurring revenue for Utopia and UIA. Combined, our recurring revenue per month is about $2.7 million. Utopia represents $650,000 of that, and then the UIA revenue is just over $2 million. I've changed this graph to show numbers going back to 2012 because I think it's pretty remarkable to look at the growth of Utopia and UIA system-wide going back to 2012. July of 2012, the combined revenue was $2.5 million. May 2021, combined revenue, $500,000. May of 2021, combined revenue is $2.7 million. So pretty significant growth. And you can see that Utopia has definitely held its own. New connections do go to UIA, so that's where most of the growth is.
That's a great chart. I like that one.
It is a great chart. This chart is the combined system-wide recurring revenue increase. This is a 12-month moving average of the increase in recurring revenue. If you look back at the early years, we hovered between a $10,000 increase, between 10 and 20 for about 4 years, 2014 through 2018, and then it really took off during the last 12 months. We were at about a $30,000 increase month over month. That has grown to over $40,000 month over month. And then this one, I think this one is our favorite one. I don't know. They're all looking pretty good now. But this is UIA revenue versus bond obligation. So monthly recurring revenue. UIA revenue is just over $2 million. Total debt obligation, if you look at the dotted lines and the solid lines over on the right, each of these represents a new debt service obligation. The most recent one then is, I need my glasses. Clearfield. So we don't have Pleasant Grove on here yet, but you can see that the gap between the two is about $600,000. Our monthly output for operations for UIA is less than that, probably about $550,000. And the way we get to our debt service coverage of $1.5 million is, as you all know, with the revenue pledges from the other cities and the pledge of franchise fee revenue from some of the UIA cities. So this revenue does not show the revenue from the pledges that is available should we need it. Clearly, based on what you see on this graph, we don't need that revenue, and we're doing very well. Any questions on any of those graphs? Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Lori.
You're welcome.
Any questions again from the board? Okay, thank you. Let's go to item 8, which is a network update. Roger?
All right, I'm just gonna, the revenue really captures the growth. Sometimes it's nice just to see our subscriber counts look like. We've not sent this report out recently, mostly because we've switched CRM systems and it's kind of messed up some of our reporting. So we've we fixed that. So now we'll be sending these reports out more regularly now, but we've now updated these charts. So we're actually very, very close to 40,000 subscribers. So we expect to hit that probably early next month, which is a pretty exciting milestone to be hitting. We have made some tweaks in here. We didn't used to report on Idaho Falls subscribers. We do now include them because they're kind of a lower revenue subscriber because we share in that revenue with Idaho Falls as an operating partner. We don't spend any money on that network. It's theirs, but we do help with the management of that system. And they've got about 1,500 customers on that system. But it's decent revenue for us. But anyways, it's a great chart again to see that growth. Obviously, subscribers in each city. You see there's a little bit of bumps and things here as we change reporting methods, but it's actually been very consistent growth in all of our cities. So we're really excited to see that. Even in cities that have had Utopia for a long time, we've seen good growth. Take rates continue to climb. Demand for services goes up. I think more and more we're hearing that feedback of people liking the service. The quality is good. The reliability is good. The value is good, and the reputation of the organization, both financially and politically, has improved over the years. And so we're very happy with how things are going, and we just want to, there's an opportunity to continue to add customers, add city partnerships, improve both politically and financially over time, pay off debts, lower the cost of services, and all sorts of good things happen when we're successful. So, right now our priority has been to finish the build out of the original cities, but also these opportunities of partnership and growth of the network have been significant. There's also a lot of other things we do in the mix of things at Utopia. We have partnerships with the school system. This year was our largest award we'd ever received from the Utah Education and Telehealth Network. We actually Utopia was awarded more sites than any other entity in the state, even though we're not a statewide entity. And so I think that is a big deal, that we are doing a lot to serve not just residences and businesses, but our educational institutions. We are also increasing in the number of sites we're delivering for the state of Utah, also for several counties that are working with us. And so while we're a growing entity from a 16-city fiber to the home project to adding that, seeing that grow to 17 or 18 in the future here, we are providing fiber benefits and connectivity in over 50 cities across the state, also with partnerships in Idaho Falls, connectivity in Las Vegas for the Utah Education and Telehealth Network that we provide to them. So there's, obviously fiber to the home is a big part of what we do, but there's a lot of other things that we've gotten into that have been of great benefit. And from a network footprint perspective, that's also including growth and expansion in Cache Valley and the St. George area, where we've had some minimal presence there in the past. We continue to see more and more school opportunities and business opportunities that have come in that have enabled us to basically pay for a network from those orders that come in, but expand our footprint, which brings more opportunity. We keep kind of extending off of previous opportunities that have come in. So it's a good thing. So fiber in the ground and reach of the network has grown significantly over the last few years, in addition to just customers and revenues. So I think more and more people are benefiting from this, not just direct customers, but those agencies out there. Like I said, schools, the states, the counties, the cities. We've seen a lot of growth and benefit out there, and we're really happy to see that and continue to push for that. So anyways, that's my network update. Any questions on any of that? It's a quiet room today.
Yeah, what were our subscriber numbers last month?
It was over about 700 last month. So we're seeing a significant growth. New customers. We're seeing a significant growth. We did have a delay. Sometimes it's we have releases of new footprints all come in feast or famine kind of thing. We might go a couple months and then I might get 5 in another month. So you'll see those subscriber numbers wane or go big depending on that.
Do we expect that with the maybe the attention or concern about the pandemic and, the schools maybe functioning a little more normally, businesses to the degree they want to functioning a little bit normally compared to what they used to do we anticipate the natural decline in subscribers because
I don't think
need
so.
for that
I don't think so at all.
That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be impacting us right now, I think, because right now is when people are kind of moving back to normal, and yet the subscriber counts are still very, very strong coming on. Pre-COVID, we were seeing, 200 to 250 new customers a month coming on, and so for us to be still seeing 600, 700, plus coming on every month, I think we're pretty confident that it's going to continue. More and more people are wanting to work remotely and doing more and more online. And competitively, it's still doing really well. There's that concern that people say, I don't really need this, and that's not the case. More and more people are coming and wanting this. They're even increasingly frustrated with the cable and DSL and wireless options that are out there, even though they may be returning a little bit more to normal from a COVID perspective.
Good. Well, thank you again. Any questions from the board? Okay, thank you. Are there any other items that weren't on the agenda but that a board member would like to raise or have put on an future agenda to discuss or share this morning? You can speak to briefly. Okay. Well, it is a quiet day, so if you're having any, as we talked about before, if you're having any concerns in your community, either with elected officials or citizens groups or what have you, feel free to reach out to staff. We want to try to address those issues and see if we can resolve them.
Comment.
You bet. And just appreciate what, Roger's got a comment, but appreciate all you're doing in your communities to support Utopia and and continue to promote it. It's doing well, and it's a lot to do with staff, but it's also a lot to do with the leadership in the individual communities. So thank you.
I just want to quickly recognize, we do have Ty Bailey and Kyle Laws, and those are city managers for Morgan and West Point, respectively. Obviously, those are partners projects that we've worked on. We've kind of extended invitations for participation from them. Obviously, they're not voting board members, but they're very important in these projects and our success, and we really appreciate that partnership. So we appreciate them attending the meeting and all the work that they've done. But we'll probably see probably Pleasant Grove and Syracuse and some others attending more of these meetings that are interested in the growth and success of UIA, even though we have different tiers of involvement with this. But they've done a lot. We work really hard. We hope they're happy with us. But on the other side, a lot of our success has been dependent on the great work they've done to support this in their communities, and we appreciate them, what they've done.
We may also want to
and
know
one other thing. We have with us Jeff Irwin.
Do you want to get on my camera? Here you go.
Yeah, we're going to put Jeff on Kim's camera over here. So Jeff is who at the last meeting we approved his employment with us. We're excited to have him on the team. Several of us have experience with him, but we wanted to just introduce him so you can see his face rather than just the PowerPoint I showed last time. But if you guys welcome him virtually over Zoom, appreciate that. But
it's a pleasure to meet you. A pleasure to meet you, Alex, and all the other members of the board. I'm looking forward to working with each and every one of the cities.
Very good. Glad to have you aboard.
Thank you,
Jeff.
Spotlight, that's the wrong.
Spotlight right at the end. I'm not as fast on the spotlighting here. Okay.
We may want to mention too that Kyle Maurer has come on the UIA board as the Mid-Bell representative. Matt Dahl will now be on Utopia. So this is Kyle's first meeting with us as an official member.
Well, welcome, Kyle. You got the better end of that stick, so.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Yeah, very good. And again, Ty and Kyle, I apologize. I should have recognized you gentlemen as well. So but maybe in the future, Chris can help me. As we have more contract partners, we certainly want to recognize you. And I think even at times, have the opportunity to take input to you. So I think if there's an issue, I don't think you should, even though you're not formally a board member, should not hesitate to raise concerns or communicate with staff or ask questions and good information leads to good decisions. So anyway, anything else? Again, thank you for all you have been doing and are doing, and be safe, and just wish you and your families and significant others in your life the very, very best. So have a great day, and thank you again for your time this morning. Thanks to the staff as well. You did a great job, and we appreciate it.
Thank you.
You bet. We'll stand adjourned then. Bye-bye.
Alex, can we